Good evening and welcome everyone to the May 27th, 2025 Select Board meeting. I'd like to welcome all of those online as well as in person. Before we get into our regular agenda, as is done every year, we like to look at the possibility of the reorganization of the board with an election of a new chair and clerk. With that, I would actually like to nominate Megan Birch McMichael for chair. Will you accept that nomination?
I will accept that nomination, Mr. Toole.
Okay.
Second.
I was gonna say, is that an actual motion? You were nominating, you should actually.
Yeah, no, before I did that, I
Okay, well, he was
wanted-
seconding, so.
Yeah, so
Wasn't sure if I
then in
should or
that
not.
case, I move to appoint as chair of the Stow Select Board for the coming year, ending after the 2026 annual election, Megan Birch McMichael.
Second.
Any further discussion?
None at all.
No.
As long as she gets her little gavel.
Thanks, Ms. Hagman.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. And now for clerk.
Well, all right, okay. I would like to suggest you be the clerk this coming year, if you will accept that nomination.
I will accept the nomination.
So, do I move it? I move it. I move to appoint our former chair. No, I move to appoint JT Toole as clerk of the Stow Select Board for the coming year, ending after the 2026 annual town election.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now do you have to trade seats?
No. We're
Madam
not trading
Chair.
seats. Not tonight, we can switch next week, it's totally fine. You're all plugged in, I'm all plugged in, it's all fine. Okay.
The agenda is now yours.
Thank you, Mr. Toole. So what we normally start with is public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes. We usually limit it to 3 people total. And we ask that it not be something that is currently on the agenda. So if anybody has anything to say online or in the room on public comment, now is your time. Anybody? All right, fantastic. Board member updates. May I start? I will start. I wanted to welcome Ms. Hegeman and Mr. Peterson to the board. We look forward to serving with you for this next year, and welcome.
Thank you.
And with that, board member updates. Hector.
Just want first to acknowledge the new sign in the lower common that we approved last meeting, I believe.
Oh yeah.
That was put up yesterday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the dedication, but it's up there now commemorating freshly painted and legible where the Gardner Inn was and where Samuel Prescott ended his ride.
I look forward to that.
I also would like to see the hometown hero flags come up on our agenda sometime soon. I remember the last time it was because Hudson Light and Power wouldn't approve the use of their poles, but guess what Hudson has?
So we've had conversations, Joe Jacobs, our veterans agent, is trying to work, they still have said no to us. So Joe Jacobs is trying to have HLP agree now that Hudson has gone forward with it. So I'm happy to add it, but it has been something we've been talking about quite regularly.
It's something we can also let Rep. Kate Hogan know, because she's fully aware of how Hudson Light and Power agreed to allow them in Hudson, so maybe we can get that same initiative in Stow. And one final item that I have is I'm looking, no promises, but I'm looking into trying to start a periodic Stow Town Market where any business, crafts, farm, agriculture, or resident can pop up a tent and sell their wares, similar to a farmer's market, only it wouldn't be restricted to just agricultural. Don't know anything about the details. I'm gonna be meeting attending the EDIC meeting where they're going to discuss it,
Cool.
and we'll see if we can get it going.
Cool. Ms. Hageman? Yes.
Something for a future agenda item?
Yes.
Well, and actually, I thought the annual town report was really, really good. And in there were some committees, like the agricultural committee, that hadn't had a chance to meet because there's no quorum. So I was wondering if we could spend on a future agenda some time looking at meetings or committees that needs more support.
Yeah.
And just so you know, I have a candidate for the agricultural committee, which will bring them to a quorum.
Oh, delightful. Great. Mr. Stow?
Madam Chair, I would like to personally thank the Veterans Association for the Memorial Day Parade yesterday. I was there as Mr. Costanzos.
Mr. Cortez,
Yeah. We, well, that's all right, we have a senator.
that's okay, our senator is Jesse Eldridge.
Jesse Eldridge. So other than names.
It was a stressful time.
Yeah, and it was his first time.
Yeah.
He was really trying to do a good job, and for the most part, he did actually.
He did a great job.
It was a great turnout,
Great.
and it was great to see all the folks in town as well. And I think it was a great community event, and I just really wanted to thank them very much for all the efforts to put that together. Cohen's actually donated a half-track this year, which veterans could ride
Oh, nice.
in the parade, which I thought was pretty cool.
Great.
I was at the sign dedication.
Oh.
I did go, again, that was great, and it really was, in just, learning and hearing, the different aspects of the history, where actually the munitions and the money was hidden here in town.
Oh, wow.
So, we actually played a fairly significant role in the beginning of the revolution, so I thought that was a pretty cool thing to bring to light. The last thing is, the Old Town Hall Reuse Committee is moving forward with their presentation, and that should be happening in the near future, actually. And that's all I have.
Mr. Peterson? You have no updates.
I have no major updates, no. Not a select board.
Fantastic. All right, we're gonna move to the town administrator's report. Ms. Pankowski.
Thank you. Just a couple things this evening. So unfortunately, she's not here tonight, but I wanted to take a moment to recognize Erin Mulcahy since our last meeting. She received her master's degree in public administration from Suffolk University and was also inducted into Pi Alpha Alpha, which is the Honor Society for Public Administration. As a Suffolk alum and a Pi Alpha Alpha member, I was able to be there to her induction ceremony and watch her be inducted into the Honor Society. So
Great.
it was really great. I know what it's like to work full-time, go to school at night and try and pursue your degree. So just kudos to her. It was a lot of work. She's been doing it since 2019, so just a great job. I am pleased to share that we received a $135,000 grant to run fiber to all of our municipal buildings. So thanks to Jonathan at Stow TV who presented the idea and gathered the data. And then I wrote up the narrative and submitted it. The state had a ton of interest in this grant specifically, but we were selected because it meets their overarching goal of closing critical gaps in local networks and connecting municipally owned facilities. So once this framework is in place, we can start looking to see how we can streamline infrastructure. For instance, we would not need an internet connection in every building because we can get a high-speed T1 or T3 here and feed that out. It'll also improve communications between the fire department and the police department. They share data now and they have to remote desktop in to actually get their data back and forth. So this will improve things. It will also allow Stow TV to be able to do some recording and broadcasting a little more seamlessly from the other buildings. So look for that over the next, a couple months. I think this board previously approved use of the municipal fire alarm space when we first started talking about this, maybe last summer. So we will be going ahead with that. We have officially installed our second fire protection cistern with state funds received through Kate Hogan. So the new 30,000 gallon cistern is at Stow Town Center Park. And to date, we've been able to secure $450,000 in earmarks from Kate for this important cause, and she has right now $150,000 hopefully in next year's budget as well to continue putting these important fire protection systems in place. The next one is slated for Bradley Lane, right at the entrance to Town Forest, so that would be the next priority location.
Great.
And then lastly, I just would like to thank the members of the DPW for their hard work and efforts over the last few weeks getting the cemetery and public spaces ready for Memorial Day. The weather obviously had not cooperated much with us, but they really kicked it into gear to make sure everything was done and looking nice for the ceremony. So I just want to thank them for the job they did. That is it.
Fantastic. Thank you. We have one recognition tonight, and that is for Eagle Scout Sophia Schneider. They're not on, right? No, she's not on. Thank you. And so Sophia, happens to be not only the second female Eagle Scout in Stow, but she's also the 100th Eagle Scout, from the town of Stow, which is huge. So we're going to, or Mr. Peterson is going to present this certificate to her. I'll read it quickly. Certificate of Achievement presented to Sophia Schneider in recognition of your achievement of attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. Congratulations, Sophia, on achieving your goal and also for becoming the 100th Eagle Scout from Troop 1 Stow. We are proud to have you as a member of our community and appreciate the service project you completed by building 2 ice rescue ladders, one for Stow Town Beach and one for Bolton Town Beach. These ice rescue ladders can be used by emergency services or bystanders to assist someone who has fallen through the frozen lake. Your service project may indeed save a life one day. We wish you the best of luck in the future, and it will be signed from the Stow Select Board. So I will take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to sign the letter and certificate for Eagle Scout Sophia Schneider.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Next on the list, we have an appointment, and it is our appointment to the Board of Assessors for Tom Ryan. Where I believe he's sitting in the office, in the audience. Did you have anything you wanted to say? No? This is just an annual appointment. No, it's not an annual appointment, sorry.
It's okay, so because the Board of Assessors went from elected to appointed, this is the first cycle for appointments, and when Phoebe had sent out the list for appointments, she had the due date for all appointments, including the Board of Assessors, June 9th, I think.
Great.
But Tom's appointment ended at the election, so this is just a 1-month appointment just to carry him through until the reappointments happen.
Okay.
So that the board can conduct their end of the year business.
Fantastic. Any questions? No? I will take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to appoint Tom Ryan to the Board of Assessors through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? No? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, and that is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, guys, and I just want, if I might, Madam Chair, I just wanted to say that we've got a great assessor's office and I'm proud to continue working with them.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, moving right along. We have tonight the planning board with us to provide a presentation on the zoning for multifamily housing, MBTA communities. We have a lot of people in this room right now and some not familiar faces to me. I just want to remind everybody that this is not a public hearing. This is a presentation from the planning board to the select board. We will be asking questions of the planning board. It is possible we do not ask questions of the audience this evening. And so I'm just laying that out, some ground rules out there right now. So having said that, who's giving us our presentation from the planning board?
I can start us off. So I'm Valerie Ortiz. I'm the planning director. I'll also have the members of the planning board introduce themselves, just in case not everyone in the room is aware. If you want to go ahead.
Lori Clark, I'm the current chair of the planning board. but to be decided tonight if that continues.
John Claramato, planning board member.
Karen Kelleher, planning board member.
Margaret Costello, planning board member.
Nancy Arsenault, planning board member.
Debbie Woods, voting associate, planning board member.
Great.
Or not planning board member, voting associate.
All right. So tonight I'll just review some of the basics of the Section 3A multifamily housing zoning, and then move into a little bit of our planning process, as well as talk about our location and why we're here tonight. Just trying to make it, now it's working. So the purpose of the state mandate is to grow a healthy and sustainable regional economy, which requires providing housing options at a variety of scales and a wide range of price points. So this was part of Governor Baker's 2021 Economic Development Bond Bill that was unanimously passed by the state legislature. So in Stow, our goal is to meet the minimum requirements of the state law. So these just to detail the zoning requirements and then some additional requirements of the law. So it must be as of right housing rather than a special permit process. We're still able to have a site plan approval process, which requires a public hearing through the planning board. We're not able to put any age restrictions on the housing, and it must be suitable for families, which basically means that we can't set any restrictions on the number of bedrooms in the units. We have a maximum housing density of 15 units an acre, though the state has acknowledged that towns like Stow that don't have public water or sewer infrastructure will likely not see housing at that density, so we're more likely to see something at a lower density than that. And we must create a zoning district that is of a reasonable size. And affordable housing allowances can be included in the zoning, just as we do for any other typical subdivision in Stow. We're allowed to dictate the housing types, so the planning board has decided on allowing duplexes, triplexes, and small townhomes up to 5 units in one building. And we're also able to set a limit on the building heights. So just as we're seeing everywhere else around town, we're limiting that to 35 feet. There are additional requirements, so other permitting needed includes the Wetland Protection Act and all local wetland bylaws, well and septic regulations through the Board of Health and DEP, building and fire codes. And we do have a little bit of a limitation there with not being able to impose any additional regulations beyond what we typically see for single-family homes. So one thing I also wanted to say was if you have any questions during this, please feel free to interrupt me and ask me to slow down or repeat something or define something a little better. So feel free to kind of engage as we go. So what does it mean for property owners within the proposed district? So there are no requirements of property owners. If someone chooses not to build anything, then nothing will happen. The state mandate does not require any additional housing units to be built. So compliance with the state's law really just means that we have zoning in place, not that there's any building happening. So any future redevelopment does not need to be constructed at the maximum density. So properties could stay single-family homes, they could be converted to duplexes, converted to triplexes, or a property owner could opt to redevelop more. So it's a choice. So how does zoning shape future development? There are some things that we can control and some things that we cannot. Again, the housing types, so only allowing duplexes, triplexes, and townhomes up to 5 units per building. We are not including large apartment complexes. You're not going to see a high-rise from this bylaw because we are limiting it to 35 feet. We're using the same setbacks that we do for typical single-family homes, and we do have an increased open space component. So 20% of the land on a lot would need to be set aside for green space. This does not mean deeded land to the town or land that the town would purchase, simply what your yard looks like. And And also the other permitting requirements that I mentioned before, so the wetlands, permitting, building and fire codes, well and septic. So all of that would still be regulated. What we can't control is whether or not multifamily housing is built, the density, so we need to allow at least 15 units an acre. But again, we're likely to see housing developed at a lower density than that. And we also can't control the size of the district, so the state does set aside or provide certain requirements of us given the size of Stow, the population, and our proximity to the South Acton commuter rail. So the housing types that we're allowing are those that we're already seeing in Stow and those that we're already seeing in this neighborhood, in fact. So we want this to look like Stow if it is constructed. I just wanted to give a bit of a snapshot of our planning process so far, just how we got here. So since last summer, we sought feedback from a variety of ways. So from residents, members of boards and committees, we held a number of forums, we used surveys. We also reviewed our process and our goals with existing town policies and plans to make sure that we are aligning with them. So we took a look through the existing master plan, the existing open space and recreation plan, just to make sure that we're mirroring those goals and not getting us out of alignment with any other departments. We incorporated state-defined excluded land and sensitive land, so the state does have some say in where we put this district. And we created location considerations based on public feedback and the research that we did into those existing plans and policies. And really, the planning board was looking to find a balance between the state's requirements and maximizing benefits to Stow. So the location we'll talk about is not the first one that we looked at, nor is it the only one. So when the planning board started this process, we started with a blank map of Stow. Then we started adding in layers. So we added in the state excluded land, the sensitive land. We looked at their location considerations, which included avoidance criteria. That was part of the feedback we received from the select board, from the open space committee, from the conservation committee. So we really took a look at a lot of different areas of town. Eventually, after some forums and feedback, we got to about 8 locations, primarily in denser village-style neighborhoods, so where we already have existing density in Stow. So town center, around the Hudson Road, Great Road intersection, and around Lower Village. Eventually, those 8 locations turned into 3, and now we're really focusing in on one draft location. So this is the area to the east of Lower Village. This was rated number 1 in our community survey, in our forum, and in our survey of town boards and committees that have land use experience. It has proximity to Lower Village, which offers benefits to our economic development center, provides access only through Great Road so that we're minimizing traffic that we're seeing on our side roads. It also encourages smaller incremental growth. So we're not putting this district, or at least this draft does not have one large parcel that would be owned by a single person, much more likely to be developed. There are 11 different owners here, so 11 different households that are able to make the choice of whether or not they want to see this housing developed. This location also avoids parcels with any active agriculture, historic and rural views as defined by the open space and recreation plan, and non-residential districts. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I think a couple things are worth noting. First off, I think the EDIC actually voted to support the location based on their point of view. The traffic concern that Valerie mentioned, I think is just worth noting. There aren't many developments that can happen by right. Normally, when we have a special permit, we're considering the traffic flow and we're actually able to give input. So that, being able to build by right, basically had the discussion that we really want to keep it on Great Road. So just wanted to reiterate that. I think that's all I have.
Yeah, so because there's no special permit process, there's less control, so we want to make sure that we have some things kind of built into the bylaw and also just with the location that we chose in particular.
What is the noted yellow and red sort of line section there in the middle?
Yes. So what's shown in red is the district itself. You're seeing some layers on top in green. It looks a little yellow here. So that is the resource areas around water bodies or the wetlands essentially. So the blue is water, green, yellow looks like the resource area and the wetlands.
I think it's worth noting that based on the state guidelines, we're looking at just over 10 acres. And those have to be either continuous, or if you choose to do less than, you have to, meaning you 2 locations, minimum is 5. So basically, it has to either be 1 continuous location or 2 5-acre locations.
Can I ask one quick question? So is it, even though the wetlands would not be buildable land, is that still considered in the?
Continuous,
It's continuous, okay.
That's what makes it, yeah, exactly, so that's what makes it connected.
Okay.
If that were not there, we would need to add more land to either the east or the west of the district. Great, so we'll talk a little bit more about the location. So just a different view of it, they are 11 residentially zoned parcels. 3 of them are only partially within the district. The majority are single-family homes. It does include the Apple Country Animal Hospital as well as the Marble Hill farm stand. And all of these parcels are within a half-mile of Lower Village. So from here, we're gonna continue working on the draft bylaw and continuing to take feedback on the draft location as well. As I know you'll be discussing later on in your agenda, we are planning for a fall special town meeting so that we can bring this forward to residents. So we'll be working up until then to make sure that our bylaw and location are compliant with the state. So the state does have a pre-adoption review process, so they'll take apparently a full 90 days or more to review the bylaw and the location and make sure that what we would be presenting to town meeting would actually get Stow to compliance with the state law. And we have until the end of this year to meet that deadline. So why we're here tonight is to ask for select board support of both the planning board's mission statement as it relates to this initiative and also for support of the East Lower Village location for submittal to the state's pre-adoption review process. So at this point, if there are any questions or if any other board members want to make clarifications, I
Madam
welcome
Chair?
that.
Just one quick question. I know it was mentioned that EDIC had already taken a vote. Did this board take a vote?
Yes, so the board did just take a vote to provide this location to the state for the pre-approval or pre-adoption review process.
Okay, so then, Madam Chair, I do have a few more questions. But
Absolutely.
before I do, does anybody else wanna
I have some too, but go ahead.
We'll go right down the list.
leave before jumping?
I've appreciated your process and the outreach that the planning board has conducted so far. I'm assuming that you've been speaking with the individual owners of the parcels as well and got some of their concerns and integrated those as well. And then, did you hear any specific issues that you had to adjust the plan for, just so the public is aware of how you approach this?
Yes, so at our last meeting, the board did state that they're interested in removing a few of the parcels to the east of the district. So it is possible that what we are sending to the state is actually a smaller district than what we showed. So there are 4 very small parcels to the far east of the location, so right along the border with Maynard. And the board did opt to take those out of the district, in part to lessen the impact on the neighborhood. We've also taken a look at the setbacks that we're allowing within the district. The board's tried to find ways of reducing impacts by altering housing types. There are very few things that we're able to work with, but we have also taken abutters and the neighbors' comments about other potential locations in town seriously, and we have taken a look at those locations to try to see if they may also work and if they meet the planning board's location considerations.
I think it's important to note that with any proposal, we have abutters that don't wanna see a change and are concerned about how much we can mitigate either what they look at or what they hear, traffic, et cetera. I think our challenge has been, even as we look at other locations, there's going to be abutters at each of those. And so we don't have any magic answer.
So I just have one more and then you can do yours, is that okay? Sort of a follow-up, or I don't know if others do.
I have some, but I can wait until the 2 of you.
Gentlemen or ladies?
Go for it.
So with the new Shaw's Plaza zoning, I was wondering if there's a way, I know you have to look at contiguous parcels, but did the board consider how that district might help achieve the goals of the state?
The challenge with that is that the state has, because that district is mixed use, the state is restricting, if we include any of that land, we would only get credit
For
for.
a maximum of 25% of our unit capacity,
So in fact, we'd have to do more than the minimum in order to include some of that land. Just one more thing, in addition to that, I know that we've been, the planning board in general has been fairly sensitive to the fact that only, I think less than 5% of the land in Stow is non-residential. And so we
We're
are
trying to
sensitive
preserve
to
that.
giving it up as well.
But having mixed, totally off topic, but having mixed use down there would be great. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm done, thank you.
In your conversations with EDIC, when you spoke with them, did they have any indication as to what the implications are for the businesses in the area? Do they feel that this is gonna be something that is beneficial? Do they think it's not gonna make a difference?
I actually have to admit that I did not attend the meeting where they voted to support. So I actually can't speak to their full conversation. Let me just see if I have, actually didn't grab that sheet that I just sent you all.
Oh, just the recent ones? Here.
Yes, yeah. Let me see if I have their comments.
Well, maybe while she was looking, to add, it's incredibly difficult to predict how much housing, if any, will be built there. Because this zoning does not require any housing to be built. And the only way something would be built, if one of the owners there would decide to, they could sell their property to another homeowner and then nothing happens. They would have to sell their property to a developer, who then would have to try to figure out, how can I actually build some number of units with all of the well and septic and infrastructure that's needed on that particular parcel. So
What is the average size parcel that we're talking about there?
I think the biggest one was 4 acres or something.
Largest is 4.6.
But most are-
Most are really more around 2. If we took out the smaller parcels, which are more like a 1/4 acre to 0.4 acres, the the average goes up, certainly. And then I'll just add that a couple of other comments from the EDIC were just around an interest in adding density near businesses. Other items I spoke with the EDIC about at a previous meeting before their vote was really about being able to provide lowercase a affordable housing for folks who might be able to work in the kinds of businesses that we want to see in Stow. So both for employees, but also to add patrons within walking distance to Lower Village.
As far as density is concerned, this almost feels like it's similar to a 40B situation, with some variation, obviously. But on a 2-acre lot, what does the planning board envision a developer being able to, as far as the number of units?
We don't know because we haven't done any further engineering. But we have, just like you, started looking around like what has been able to be built. And I know it's funny shaped, but the 40B going into Red Acre Road there. It is a little weird shape, but they're building 6, although Mike K did indicate they felt that they could qualify for 8, but just the way the layout, he said they were building 6 units on
9 acres, I think.
But again, it's a little bit weird shape, so that's probably, it's probably not a great indication. 9, meaning my guess is you wouldn't, on a better lot, you wouldn't necessarily need 9.
You know, if you have duplexes with many apartments now are 1,000 square feet.
Right. No,
And many of our houses are like bunkers, right? So if you had a duplex, a smaller house, and have 2,000 square foot or 1,500, all those lots could have duplexes or
Well, even a triplex for that matter.
correct, without really changing footprints.
Right.
Just have to upgrade the septic.
Well and septic, exactly. And so that's, I guess, kind of the question that I have, to be able to put like a triplex in a 2-acre area. Upgrading the septic in that area.
Right, you'd still have to go to Board of Health and get approval.
Right. So we're not able to limit the bedroom count.
Correct.
But the developer would need to work with the existing infrastructure. So typically a developer's not gonna put in a public water supply unless there are more like 150, 200 units. Not bedrooms, but units. So in all likelihood, because these are smaller parcels, this is all gonna be private water, private sewer, or private septic. So that simply just there is going to limit the density because of the amount of space that takes up.
So in fact, it doesn't even need to be a developer, it could be the private landowner if they so chose. To develop the land themselves, they could do that. Obviously meeting the requirements that are necessary with Board of Health and all the other folks that they need to work with.
Mr. Toole, is it okay if we
My question just
you were
got
the next
answered.
one? Okay,
So,
alright,
I'm good.
sorry. I knew there were some other questions. Mr. Fuchs. Yeah, are you good?
I'll let
Are you
him
good?
in.
Okay.
Okay.
So
you.
I understand that it was maximum 15 units per acre. What was the requirement again on number of acres though?
So our minimum acreage is about 10. However, our consultants have advised that we go a little bit over that. Just
Because some are not able to be used for it.
right. So this
Okay.
I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but the state has when they review our zoning, they won't only be looking at our bylaw language and just our map, but they're gonna be using this massive Excel spreadsheet called their compliance model, which takes into consideration frontage, side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, just really making sure that the shape of the parcels as they exist today will produce what they consider our unit capacity, so what we have to zone for. So it's quite a bit in the weeds, but we're looking for at least 10 acres. Our consultants are saying, let's add in a little bit of a buffer, just in case we didn't do our calculations correct. We don't wanna go through this whole process and be, 10 units short of what the state will allow for compliance. So if we remove those 4 small parcels to the east, we'll be at about 11.7 acres.
Oh, okay, so we're almost 2 acres over the required 10.
Yes.
Because that was one of my questions I was gonna ask, is there a buffer that's been built in?
Yeah. There is.
When you say that there were some parcels where it's partial, do you mean that like the parcel of land, only part of it has been taken for this MBTA zone? Okay.
Exactly, so it's an overlay zoning district, so all the underlying residential zoning still applies. So the property owners that are in the split zones can do everything they want to do with their typical residential zoning, or in the portion of their property that's within the overlay zone, they'd be able to do more. It is true though that the parcels at least 2 of the parcels that are split zoned, we don't anticipate any development there because there's quite a bit of wetland and water in the area.
But we included that portion along Great Road to make it continuous. And we purposely did not put those entire lots in because we don't want it to be off of Pompo at all.
And why is that?
Traffic,
Good driving.
because of the as of right.
Okay, just wanted to clarify,
Yeah.
thanks.
I had a couple of questions if anybody else. Yeah. I was hoping you could speak to how the proposed zoning changes are gonna work to help make Stow more accessible for first-time home buyers and perhaps for people who are attempting to downsize in their own homes and still stay in Stow.
That's a great question. So typically, multifamily housing is by nature smaller. And particularly by allowing conversion to duplexes or conversion to triplexes, you're taking the existing square footage and then you're shrinking the size per unit. So the idea is that you're opening a door for new homeowners or renters to come into Stow because it will simply be less expensive than a typical single family. So it's not that there's going to be a deed restriction for that uppercase A affordability for all units. We really aren't able to require very much of that. I think only 10, maybe 11% of units will be set aside for qualified, affordable households. But so otherwise, multifamily housing has just been seen to be much more available for folks who might be first-time home buyers.
Mr. Casand?
Is there any requirement to add sidewalks and stuff if they choose to redevelop? Because there's no sidewalk down that way.
There's no sidewalk there. That's right. So we did put in some conditional zoning or incentives into the bylaw to say to a developer or to a homeowner, if you choose to install a sidewalk, we will let you get a break with the front yard setback or get a break with something else. In all honesty, I think that it's something I will be looking to do as part of my role to have a sidewalk designed and constructed. So the state has created an MBTA Community Catalyst Fund so that those communities that are compliant with the law are able to get access to capital grants for projects that support their districts, such as a sidewalk to your business district.
That's great.
Are there other legal ramifications besides that if we do not comply?
Yes, so non-compliance would mean that the state could enter into a lawsuit against the town, so that we would have legal fees there. But then also that we would not be eligible for grants that we are currently. And we could also be stripped of grants that we have been awarded, as was the case with the town of Milton.
I'm sorry,
The town of Milton had grants taken away from them that had already been awarded.
They were the first ones to challenge and they've already spent 300 plus grand in legal fees.
Yes.
So I just wanna add to that, so as you all know, we've recently applied for another $1 million grant for the Lake Boone Dam project. One of the questions on the application is, are we in compliance with the 3A? So they asked that as we were applying for the grant, and at this point, we still are because our deadline is December 31st, but they are now including that in their grant applications.
Okay,
Alright.
that's huge.
A lot of grants that Stow has had great success with, so MassWorks grants, the municipal vulnerability preparedness grants that allowed us to engage with the planning process with Stow Acres, many others. So it's definitely something the state is taking seriously.
This is not a question, just a comment. They pretty much answered the questions that I had. It seems like that you're really working very hard to keep it into the rural nature of town. We're not looking at the huge 154-story development, high-rise situations or anything like that, which I think is also important. But I'd also like to commend you on the effort and the work. It seems, at least from my perspective, that you've really reached out to the public with your forums and surveys and have taken into account the comments and concerns from residents here, the vast majority. I realize not everybody is going to agree, but it seems like you are at least listening and trying to resolve as much as possible. And the fact that you reached out to EDIC as you did, I also really commend you for that, because I do think it is important to work hand in hand with our business partners down in Lower Village as well. So I just want to say thanks, because I think you guys are really trying to reach out and touch the different areas of town, with this being, for lack of a better term, thrust upon us.
Mr. Patron.
Have you had a point of contact with every resident, or in the case of the veterinary business, like every residential owner there?
We have mailed, we've done 2 mailings to every property. I have not been able to have a conversation with every owner.
Have you heard back from half, a third, or had some communication?
I don't know if it has been half. I think really only,
Okay.
maybe 3 or so owners.
But we also, besides the actual properties themselves, we also reached out to the abutters as well.
Right.
But you're right, from a property owner standpoint, there's really only been a handful.
Just a handful. One of the mailings that we did was to invite, a postcard to invite property owners to a specific meeting for them. We only had one property owner and a relative of a property owner attend.
Okay.
Since then, we've tried to collect more email addresses and reach out in other more direct ways that we simply couldn't before when we only had mailing addresses. But still, so far, I have not heard back from everyone.
And I imagine in the last point, the minimal communication you have had from them, I assume it's been to raise challenges, or not even challenges, just like concerns. Has there been any stories of, welcoming or seeing it as an opportunity or anything like that?
From the residents themselves, the property owners themselves, no. I think that there has been concern from them,
Okay.
absolutely. From others in the neighborhood, certainly a lot of concerns there as well. A scattering of positive comments. Unfortunately, as Lori mentioned earlier, I think there are a lot of people who are happy that it's not in their neighborhood and would have concerns. So I think what we're hearing is expected, but it's our job to try to mitigate any of those challenges that they're bringing to us, and then think about balancing it with the interests of the town.
Cool, thank you.
But this is just passing a bylaw. You haven't heard of anybody looking to develop at this point?
No. In fact, the owners are quite concerned with development, so it seems that the property owners that we've spoken to are not interested in developing.
Does anyone else have any questions of the planning board? On this board? No? Okay. Does the planning board have anything they would like to say to us additionally?
I mean, I think based on the state's view of being compliant, we certainly wanna make sure we're in lockstep with the select board, just because of the implications at hand.
So what we have in front of us this evening, select board, is, 2 votes, that we are being asked to take. So I will take a motion, Mr. Costanzas, if we have nothing else to discuss as a board, nope. On the first motion, I will take.
Madam Chair, I move to support the planning board's efforts as described in their MBTA Communities Act mission statement.
Second.
Any further discussion? Alright, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great. And then I'll take a second motion.
declare that unanimous?
That is unanimous.
Madam Chair, I move to support the Lower Village location the planning board will submit to the state in the pre-approval package.
Second.
Any further discussion or
I just have a
questions?
question,
Ms.
because
Seigman,
it
yes?
sounded like there may be some minor adjustments, like with those 4 small parcels or not. So should we say you support the Lower Village location as may be amended, or is that not appropriate?
Well, you're just supporting what they're
Whatever
voting.
Whatever they.
So
So did you vote it without the 4 parcels?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you
So,
did vote
yeah.
it without the 4 parcels, okay, fine. So, I second, and that's all.
Okay, any further discussion? No, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. Alright, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know you have a meeting to get to.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
luck
for your
picking
time.
your chair.
Appreciate it. Best of luck to you, Ms. Clark. Alrighty, we have more things to move on to, board. So we have a common victor license. We're bringing Duncan back, friends.
Is this a Duncan? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I'll give everybody a minute.
And we have Nicole.
It looks like Nicole's online.
Does this mean I have to get rid of my Duncan shirt?
You can burn it.
You can just
or
write no
do
more
whatever you
underneath
want.
it. Yeah.
No
Right.
more.
Duncan does it no more.
It was the only Stow shirt I had.
Well, we'll get you it.
Yeah.
We'll get you a ton of Stow on there, Dan.
Hang on to it, could be memorabilia.
Right, exactly.
Alright, so this is very exciting. We've seen all this construction happening. Oh, why is my computer off? On Great Road at the building, so tonight we have to approve the license for them to be able to start serving coffee. Nicole, did you wanna talk to us about maybe timelines?
Sure, so I wanted to get on this meeting just in case we're able to open in the next 3 weeks. More or less, we are looking like the end of June.
Great.
Wow.
But I just, as this project goes on and I have another project at the same time, I just kind of wanted to get this box checked. I know you guys can't issue the license till the Board of Health says okay.
Mhm.
But this takes a little bit off my plate, so I appreciate you guys letting me come before you a little bit early.
Sure.
We're very, very excited, as I see some of you are. Story's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, the building looks phenomenal. The work is great. So it looks like, we have the application, the fee, the workers' comp affidavit, the quarry. What is pending is the workers' comp certificate of liability insurance. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I just need to list that specific location on there, which is
Okay.
fine.
Cool.
We just don't normally do that, but it's not a problem.
Okay. And it looks like it's obviously pending approval from, the Board of Health and then you.
Yes.
But we can at least approve the common vic. So does anybody have any questions?
So can I,
Oh, sorry, yes.
I just wanna touch, let me pull it up. So I think you should just review the hours of operation, I mean, those
Okay.
are included in here.
Okay.
And my apology, that I just realized that Joyce didn't write up the license, which is fine, you can vote it and we can put it before you at the next meeting.
Sure.
But that's something that's usually, oh, she did, she just didn't pull it out. So the application has 7 days a week. Oops.
5 to 10 p.m.
Yes, 5 AM to 10 PM, 7 days a week, with indoor capacity of 36 and outdoor capacity of 20.
And I'm gonna put on the hat that I used to wear when I was a voting associate planning board member. With it being open that late, like obviously you're complying with all the lighting and all of that jazz that they have at nighttime, and I you know what, I'm not gonna ask this question because this is not in front of this board right now, so okay, so 5 AM to 10 PM, 7 days a week, and yeah. Any other questions, guys?
Where do you see the 5 AM to 10?
It's on the, if you look in, it's the,
Page 19 of the
Yeah,
packet,
it's
if you
in the
look at
packet.
Upper
Yeah.
right side.
Oh, I was looking at the typewritten stuff.
No.
Sorry, okay.
alright.
Am I correct in that it's a 2-story location?
Yeah, you're occupying the first floor?
So it's kind of like a dollhouse.
Okay.
There is nothing on the second floor.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. It's a Dunkin' dollhouse, that's what we're calling it.
Not used for storage or anything of the sort?
Nothing.
Okay.
He's not even gonna finish it.
That's
It's gonna be
fantastic. Great.
But it was important to you guys to maintain the look of the building, so that's what we did.
It really is a beautiful building, so
Yes.
we thank you.
Really
Looks
looking
amazing.
great. Quite the transformation.
A lot of work.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well
I
then,
found a newspaper in there yesterday, or the other day when I was there, from 1958.
wow.
Wow.
The couches were $38.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Wow.
All right, if we have no further questions or you have a question?
In the motion, it has in brackets with the following recommendations, are there recommendations we're supposed to
if you wanna make any, otherwise you don't need to
serve
add any.
good coffee?
I
Okay.
think that time frame works.
Medium, hot, regular. Pass it on down.
Madam Chair, I move to approve a common victualler license for Mission Hill Donuts LLC, doing business as Dunkin' at 108 Great Road in Stow. Gio Barbosa dos Santos, manager, valid through December 31st, 2025, pending final approval from the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health and the town administrator.
Second.
Any further questions? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to a ribbon cutting. No longer
I'll see you
desert.
guys all soon.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right, so next we have. So hold on a minute, I have a question.
They're gonna put a cactus.
Oh, okay, I see.
Put a cactus in front of it,
Oh.
for the Tonga Desert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'd be great. All right, we have annual appointments of the building commissioner and inspectors. So, do you have anything you would like to add?
Nope.
This is just annual. Yep. So I will take motions.
Madam Chair, I move to reappoint Francis Rangsbottom to the position of building commissioner for a 1-year term ending May 31st, 2026.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, sorry. Next.
Madam Chair, I move to reappoint the following inspectors for 1-year terms ending May 31st, 2026. Local Inspector Douglas Hyde, Deputy Inspector of Wires Dennis Mentiro, Deputy Inspector of Wires Michael A. Norton, Plumbing and Gas Inspector Adam Sahlberg, Deputy Plumbing and Gas Inspector Robert Smith.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. All right, next on the agenda, we have review comprehensive plan goals. I did not put this agenda together. So
Are you making a critical comment?
No, I'm just saying, okay, so then I'm just looking at it because I want to see how it got on the agenda. Would you like to speak to this?
So it's on the agenda because the comprehensive plan committee sent the draft goals and asked for feedback by June 16th.
Alright.
You have 2 meetings between now and then. There are a lot of goals for the select board, I think 18 of them, and there are 24 goals that have been assigned to me, which obviously you assigned my work plan, so you should be reviewing both sets of goals. To be honest, I haven't compared them, but I assume the 18 of the select board are also on mine, and then there's just 6 new ones. So, I don't expect this to be done all tonight, but I think the board should review them. The comprehensive plan committee is asking for feedback on whether or not you agree with the goals. Whether you feel that the select board or the town administrator are in the correct column, whether it's assigned to you, or if you're a supporting board or participant. If there's anyone else you feel that should be involved in the goal, and a realistic timeline for completing the goals over the next 10 years. So I don't know if you'd like to start by having members of the select board that are on the comprehensive plan committee have some discussion about it.
I would love that, yes, so I think if, Hector, if you and Dan could speak to, cause there's a lot.
Yes. There's less than
I'm
there was.
assuming a lot of these came from having sat in one of the meetings, came from the consultants? Or did the comprehensive plan committee develop every single one of these?
Actually, the town did. Most of these came from discussions with those meetings in a box and everything from
Okay.
with residents and people that work in Stow, or even we tried to get a few people that just passed through Stow.
Okay.
Most of these are things that residents wanted to see, the various surveys and interactions we've had, trying to get what the Stow want to see happen in 2035. There were a lot more goals that we originally started with.
Okay.
That the consultants had put together, and the comprehensive plan members met a few times and whittled it down. There were a few that were kind of ridiculous, and there were other ones that were impractical. These are the ones that really showed a lot of interest. We actually went back to the people and said, here's what we whittled it down to, what do you think? And most of this is what is left as far as deep interest in seeing in the future of the town.
Do you wanna say anything?
No,
Okay.
I would just basically second what you said, and yeah, some of the, I think to your point about like ridiculous, some were definitely like pie in the sky, like, you know, maybe overly optimistic, but
Yeah.
well said.
Do you have, could I ask, because this is a 10-year plan,
Yes.
do you have, how would you, like, obviously, these are not all the ones that you want done next year.
No.
Like, these are, so what, I would hope that you would be able to help facilitate a discussion as far as ranking them, and I'm actually wondering if, because we always have this, or we have been having this goals meeting for the board, and for setting those goals, is that maybe a future discussion on a future agenda for this could be kind of where we see in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 4 years. This is a tremendous amount of information, and it's great, and I think that a lot of times we have gone back to, at least since I've been on this board, is to be able to have this for the next 10 years for the board, to be able to look at and say, you know, these are goals that we're hoping to achieve in X, Y, and Z. I just, I would want some more guidance as to what were the ones that you really were the meatiest, that you felt like you wanted to deal with immediately.
You wanna take that?
Yeah, I agree with you fully. I think, you know, if you just look at all 24 points, yes, they're all valuable, but if you just try to tackle all of them, you'll get nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, overwhelmed. So wholeheartedly agree. We need to prioritize and maybe even, you know, some of them are like really tangible. In that it's like we want to accomplish this, and some are more nebulous, you know, maintain this, keep doing this, work to develop this sort of culture atmosphere. But I think the ones that are tangible and require, you know, infrastructure or other physical things, definitely I think ranking is the way we should do it.
Okay.
So ranking is something we're looking at.
So if you look at the second column, the strategy code, and
Okay, I was gonna ask what the code is.
I'd love to be able to explain exactly the first digit means this, the second digit means this, and the third digit means that. I can't because I don't remember where they all fell, but we had different areas, housing, business, infrastructure, that kind of stuff. And then level of importance within those areas where these goals would fall.
Okay.
I believe, but don't hold me to it, like you see 1B2, one was in the building area, what do we do with buildings? B means that it was a secondary priority, there's an A somewhere. And 2 was just, that was the second one that was in this
I see.
B section. I'd have to go back to my notes just to verify exactly how these codes work, but that's pretty much the prioritization of it.
But it looks like then they just got numbered basically by an alphabetical order.
Kind of, sort of,
Okay.
yeah. And, yeah, as Dan pointed out, many of these are ongoing things that we're not going to see accomplished within the next 6 months. And keep in mind that the comprehensive plan is just a guidebook for all the boards and committees and activities within town to go against and say, hey, we wanna do this. Does this fit into what we've said in the comprehensive plan of things that we wanna do in the town of Stow?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
If I understand this correctly, then, as far as prioritizing, we need to be looking at the letter.
Yes
A,
and.
B, C, D.
Right,
Okay, so if I look at it correctly then, number 3 on the town administrator's report, which is 2A1,
Which is number
That's-
4 on ours.
okay.
It's a repeat.
Well, my 4 was 2A5, so I don't know why there's that.
No, this 4, 2A1, select board versus town, there's overlap.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, I was looking at the town administrators,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, if I understand correctly, this is a high priority that the committee feels is something we really need to kind of take a look at.
there was a lot of feedback from residents and town government employees that we need to pay more attention to the buildings that the town owns and what we do with them. Many people brought up the old highway barn that's on Crescent Street that seems to be a danger zone. Things like that, that we can't just keep buildings.
Demolition by neglect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, that was one of the things that many residents and town people wanted to see.
So what is the goal tonight? We're reviewing this, are we, what does the committee want from us?
Feedback, if you could read through them.
Yeah.
And let us know, let the committee know what you think about these goals and priorities. These are the ones that, as was mentioned, have been set for the select boards. yes, there's a lot of overlap. I believe every single one for the select board is also on the town administrators
Which makes sense.
list, but not every single one of the town administrators is on the select board. But yeah, just feedback on
I went to.
what you think of the goal, what you think of, if is there anything missing, is there something you would add, things like that.
I was just wondering also on some of these, there was one I really liked about, see if I can find it. There's a bit of, talked about, resilient infrastructure, no, that was one of them, and then there
What
was
number, please?
18 on the
Thank you.
select boards.
Select boards, okay.
Yeah, I was curious about number 5 on the select boards, which has to do with the impact assessment toolkit, which I can't visualize, but it sounds like it'd be very cool. But there was one about just infrastructure and climate response and all that kind of stuff. So in that, you could also have, with respect to local organizational support, you could reach out to like boards, for example, or well, so I do see MAPC in here, so there are other organizations that do provide support. So maybe what we can do is, as we review this, we'll also look at other potential partners that we could tie in with.
Well, again, this is the plan, and the plan committee's goal is just to create a plan of things to do. If the select board or the Green Advisory Committee are in trying to accomplish whatever step is in this plan, wants to reach out to ORS and do that, that's fine. We don't specify necessarily how it should be done.
Okay, so when you have like Stow Cleanup and Boston MPO, ETC, et cetera, that is just, this is a resource and that's a
Yes.
responsibility of the Complete Streets and Planning. So that's not even, select board, we're supportive.
Well, so I was gonna say, is the reason that it's on our goal list because so many of these committees are appointed by us. And so you, as the comprehensive plan committee, can't be like, you need to do this and you need to do that, but it's coming through the select board because then we can advise other committees to do it. So it's not necessarily the select board's goal, like, we're not the ones doing
But
that
it's-
work,
No.
but
The town
it's,
administrators, and it is also our responsibility to, in some circumstances, to be the lead committee.
right, which is what I'm saying, like, I'm just saying that, like, it's not necessarily on us to complete all of, like, our board to complete the work. It is a project manager, we are the ones who are making sure that this board is doing this and this board is doing that.
Yes, on many cases, but some I see.
Well, not on
that-
all of them,
Yeah,
right, but
yeah.
there are,
And
yes,
some
some
they're
of them are
definitely
ours,
ours, yeah,
absolutely,
right.
yes.
So yeah, I think if you want to have it as an agenda item in the future or in a couple weeks, I don't know what the timeline is, this is,
June 16th.
So you only have one more meeting, it's this meeting and your next meeting.
yeah, so that
for
maybe what
feedback.
we do is we'll just put our notes on here or write a quick,
Yeah, I think our time frame is June 16th, we're getting together to finalize this, based on the feedback that we're getting. There's still, people can go out, all of you out there in TV land.
it's on the website.
It's on the website, go
Yeah.
out and complete the surveys. So we're gonna reconvene on June 16th to go over all the information that's been retrieved from these meetings and discussions and finalize a plan, and I believe our goal is to have a comprehensive plan ready to present by our special town meeting.
Yeah. I was just gonna add, originally the timeline was to have comments and suggestions in by the 31st, but given the postponement to the 16th, there is a little bit more time. Certainly, speaking, if I could for the consultants, certainly earlier the better. But that's about that.
Yeah, I will say this would have been impossible to do without the consultants.
Yeah.
Nobody on that planning board knew what it took. And one of the people on it is a veteran from the previous master plan, so they've been great to work with and show us what we need to do.
I think then, sorry, do you wanna?
No, go ahead.
I think just in the interest of setting a goal for tonight and moving forward, I would say that if everybody could take a look at this before the next meeting and kind of pull out their kind of top 5.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I won't be here because I will be away.
Right,
But what I can.
if you would like to send that to us ahead of time,
My comments to the.
To the town administrator.
Town administrator, if that's.
that would work, yeah, absolutely, I would love to have that. I
Unless you wanna
think,
cancel your vacation.
I mean, or yes, or you could cancel your vacation.
I would say, yeah, but no.
Yeah, I think if
Yeah.
if everybody could kind of digest what their top 5 that you'd like to, I just wanna see kind of how we can all coalesce. Cause it may be your top 5 or have nothing to do with what I think. And I think we're looking at what our select board priority,
Yeah.
like, and
And
to be
also
able to rank
what-
it, and then also.
Yeah.
However, that is, yes. No, there,
While you're looking at it, I would also jot down whether you think what year out of the next 10 you would sort of put that on the plan so that, cause ideally we would send a response back that says, here's, whether it's 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6 years, 7 to 10 years, or whether you wanna, and then we can
Eliminate it
use
at
that
this
to
point.
develop your work
Right.
plan,
right.
for your annual goals. We could just carry forward whatever those items are.
May I ask a question when the next agenda and everything is set out, that we resend this to the board as well, so that there is another reminder that we've set a homework assignment for all of ourselves.
But again, as pointed out, some of these things are ongoing, so there's really no time limit for them.
Absolutely, and they can go to the bottom, or they can say, there is already, like the town hall, there's already a committee established. It is under, there's ongoing stuff, yes.
But on your point though, like with every meeting in a box or outreach to the public, Lower Village came up time and time again. So like that is an example of a specific place and where people are, hyper fixated, so.
Okay,
And if you look at, for example, number 9, that's something that I know the town, we're doing a lot towards. This is a prioritize construction of the street safety improvements to the town center recommendation.
right,
This is something that is actually
ongoing.
ongoing,
Right.
already in place, so.
Right. And there are some things that are considerations. There are some things that are collaboration. So yeah, I think kind of, if everybody could, and if you wouldn't mind sending just your top
No,
5 to Denise.
What I will do, since the TA report overlaps, I'll just send it in this one document.
Great.
I know the numbers don't jive with
Yep.
ours, but since it's all in there.
Okay.
The one other thing I would bring up, since Dan is now part of the select board, he was the FinCom representative to the comprehensive plan. I don't know if come June, we'd start talking about getting another person from the FinCom to be in the comprehensive plan. It may not be worth it just because pretty much wrapping up and Dan can still provide FinCom perspective to it.
So that's between Dan and the FinCom. So he doesn't have to be a member of the Finance Committee to represent them, but they have to allow him to continue in that role. So at your next meeting, you will also do your board and committee assignments, so there may be some movement on that.
That's where I was kinda
So I
going
did
at
say to
it.
Dan, don't resign yet and just see how it plays out with maybe your next meeting and then decide if you wanna ask the FinCom to stay on. If you're winding down, it may be worth it. I'll be honest, the FinCom's down to 3 members right now. So I don't know that they're gonna have anyone step up to fill in for the time being. So it may be Kevin is not seeking reappointment.
Okay, thank you.
So it's just a matter of, the moderator's working to get 2 people appointed back on there, but they're not gonna wanna jump in and serve a committee that's been established. So
Right.
we can talk about that, but that would be between Dan and the FinCom.
If I were to do that though, would I be representing the FinCom though, is that? Still would, it would be a continuation of that, okay.
Just like Courtney was on Concom, like she was
Yeah,
on
she
the
was part of the
she was the
comprehensive
part of the
plan,
Conservation
Concom
Commission,
Okay,
but
got it.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, you weren't on the FinCom, but Peter McManus represented the Finance Committee as the capital planning member for years
Okay.
and was never on the FinCom, but just was their representative, and
Got it.
so you certainly can,
Yeah.
and that does happen. Again, it's a vote of the committee.
Okay, if I could just, after you were talking about the coding and the A, B, C, if I recall, and maybe I misunderstood what you were saying. I don't remember those numbers necessarily being a ranking within the categories, just sort of like a category, a way to categorize it. Am I mistaken?
It could be. It could be. I thought the letter kind of gave it
to get the code?
a ranking, but I could be wrong. I
Well,
know
can-
the first
Can
number
the committee
was,
provide us a key?
That's what I just asked.
Yeah,
Instead
well-
of talking about it
Yep.
ad nauseam.
We should-
It's been previously published. I mean, we can easily.
Just
Yeah,
add
I
it.
Yeah, she's gonna get the key.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just make a
Yes,
comment?
absolutely.
So JT, to your point, I was just looking, the 18 select board are not all on mine. So
Oh, they're
there are some
not.
that I am not listed on that just the select board are in a different capacity, so you will wanna compare the two lists.
Oh, okay. I
Because
thought-
they are not, it is not
Maybe
just
it was.
all 18 plus more. Cause for instance, the one you were just discussing, 4A21, 4A1 is not on my list. Cause it only includes the select board and it does not have me in any role. So you will wanna just double check both lists before you're sending responses into me.
Sure.
Alrighty, yes.
The only other comment, if, also it is my understanding from the communication that came out on this, if we feel that it doesn't make sense for us to be doing it, we can suggest eliminating it or taking it off the plate, especially, TA, since we set her, tasks in the
Yes.
job description. If that seems like,
if it's something that may not make sense to you that the select board or the TA should do, rather than remove it, if you have a suggestion of who else might be the better person, the better entity to accomplish it. Cause these were things that we went through and said, these are what's important to everybody we've surveyed. Here's who we think should take care of it. And if we got that wrong, I don't wanna throw it out just because we assigned it to the wrong.
I
Well,
think-
but I'm sorry,
Oh,
the
sorry.
question was posed that if you don't agree with the goal, we should be noting that you don't believe it should be a goal of
Yes,
the-
definitely.
And we already, I mean, there was I forget the title of it, but there was a meeting where various members from the community, from small businesses and such, we got together, we went through and I don't remember the number that were eliminated then, but some were.
There's actually, yeah, I was just looking at that spreadsheet,
It was much longer.
there was. It will take too long for me to scroll to the bottom of this, the
Okay,
things that were removed.
Not to say that you
more
won't
than
find something,
twice
JT,
as
that you wanna
many as
remove,
what's
but
left.
we've already
Color.
certainly examined it very closely. But you might find some.
well, no, just one I was just looking at, and it was the whole thing engaged with MART and MBTA. You know, we actually had a program here in town, for transit, regional
Right.
transit. Nobody used it.
We still have it. We still
And we
still
still
offer.
have it, and that's another example of a goal that people talked about it, I tried to avoid saying, well, we had it and nobody used it, cause these are what people talked about, and we left it in there because it was important for people, even though everybody in the comprehensive plan knows we had it, nobody used it. We have a variation of it now,
right.
but still nobody uses it.
We
Right.
had it years before too, with the ride up to the T station, and nobody used it.
So,
The second
Okay.
one ever.
I mean, I'm not, I'll just.
Send everything and we'll,
Yeah, so there was 73 removed strategies.
I'm gonna nominate Ingeborg to read JT's at the next meeting. Alright, so
She could be the
can
interim
we
clerk while
move,
he's gone.
what's that?
She could be the interim clerk while he's
It's
gone.
gonna have to be, somebody else will do it.
No.
Okay, can we move on to the next agenda
Yes,
item?
please,
Great,
ma'am.
okay. That is to set the date of the special town meeting. do we wanna talk about what the town meeting is for, or do we need to just set the date?
I mean, I can give you my quick
I
overview.
love that.
So obviously, we need to have a vote of town meeting for the 3A multifamily zoning. Originally, we were looking at September, but with the 90-day and possibly longer pre-approval package timeline with the state, we will not make that. So the moderator, planning director and I went back and looked at the drawing board, and we have come up with Monday, since we've been doing Monday for our specials, Monday, October 27th for the special town meeting date. That would allow the tentative planning board public hearing on the bylaw to be, I think, September 16th. With the finance committee public hearing on October 1st and the select board, you would need a special meeting because it does not fall in line with your meeting schedule. On Tuesday, October 7th to vote just the warrant for special town meeting. Couple unknowns still, we don't know if we are gonna have a local newspaper, so I have that as TBD on how we're going to distribute that. But that actually gives us some time to figure out, obviously between now and then, but how we're gonna send it out, what method. And it gives us a couple extra days to get it out to everybody. So that is the date we are proposing. The town clerk, the moderator, planning director, myself are all in favor of that date.
And hopefully also a comprehensive plan. to Vote on and approve.
To town meeting, that has to go to town meeting?
I don't think they would approve the time of the meeting.
I don't know, I'll have to look, I don't know that
Yeah.
that goes to town meeting, but, so that will give us, so obviously, as part of your motion tonight, I'm also asking you to open the warrant formally. There possibly could be other articles, once it's open, I think last year we had a handful of other articles, but there's nothing I'm expecting. But that would serve both purposes.
Are you implying that the spring annual meeting must be on a Saturday and then this is just typically on a weekday for whatever reason?
I'm not implying anything, but
Okay.
we've, when we have the special town meeting, cause it's a much shorter agenda, we've kept it on Monday nights.
Cause it doesn't tend to, it's like a couple of hours versus, like if it was the school and it was a special town meeting, it would probably be on a Saturday. Because
Got it.
that would be a longer, right?
Well, so
It
for
would-
instance, our annual, we had technically 60 articles if you separate the capital into
Right.
all their individual articles. We were lucky that it only took 3 hours this year. I mean, there was
Yeah.
the year we were there for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Whereas with the special town meeting, we could have 5 articles only.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's just timing wise, it's, we've kept the Monday night because it's usually a much smaller agenda.
Okay.
Any questions? No? Alright, I will take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to set the date of the special town meeting for Monday, October 27th, 2025 at 7 PM at Center School, 403 Great Road, and further that the board formally opens the special town meeting warrant and will close the warrant on Monday, September 22nd, 2025 at 5 PM.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda is meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments about meeting minutes?
Yeah, I did a great job.
Huh?
Do you find you have to go through it and change things? I mean, we always check it, but it's generally that good.
So the things I change are, the way it works is it pulls a transcript, word for word transcript. So every every pause, when people are talking over each other, it puts, so then I go through and I do it, like I'll do it tomorrow morning when I first get in, cause it's all fresh in my mind, I know who said what, I just plug in everybody's name, separate out when people are talking or it doesn't know who. Sometimes it gets people confused, but it will try and match voices. So anytime it thinks it's you, it'll assign it to like user one, and then I change user one to Ingeborg. The things that we change once the minutes are done are the things that we like, capitalize board, take the E off of Stow, it's still putting an E's on. But really, it's very little. Sometimes it doesn't obviously know the places in town, the Pompasiticate, things like that, but we don't touch the context at all.
Okay.
Which it's pretty nice, cause it comes out, I mean, and I like the way it summarizes, like with bullet points, I mean, there's no question about your discussion, so
Yep, great.
it's nice. And it's only, like I said, I will upload the video when I come in about 6:30, by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, the minutes are done, completed. So it's just nice to just pump them out and then it frees up Joyce, she's not spending, the time that she was spending on them, so,
Exactly.
yeah, it's nice.
Where it says Courtney Fresher regretfully moved to adjourn the meeting.
I added regretfully.
I thought that was great.
Because she was so adamant about regretfully adjourning.
That's amazing. All right, I will take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the meeting minutes of May 13th, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and great. All right, next on the agenda is board correspondence. All right, we have a couple of pieces. The first one, I'm gonna ask to just put on the next agenda. It was correspondence from Mr. Roberts. So I would like that on the next agenda. Okay? Unfortunately, we can't discuss it tonight. I gotcha. Okay, so we can have a further discussion about it, next meeting. Any other questions or concerns or comments on the rest of the correspondence? No? All right. Do I have to make this motion?
And I'm sorry, I don't know that I added the
It's
motion,
executive
yes,
session
so,
one.
It's not in
You're
my
gonna-
motions.
No. Chair.
so you will
Okay.
motion to convene an executive session and
Okay.
adjourn, not return to open session. My apologies, I didn't put.
No, it's fine. So can I make the?
You can make a
Okay, make it, okay. I move to convene into sorry, do you want me to just read this?
Pursuant to Mass General.
You can.
Okay, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purpose of reviewing executive session minutes from April 1st, 2025, and under Section 21A6, for the purpose of considering the exchange or value of real property, 688 Great Road, as the chair has declared that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, I move to convene into executive session and adjourn thereafter,
Second.
And not return to open.
and not
session.
return to open session.
Second.
This is a roll call vote going into executive session. Mr. Costanzas.
Aye.
Ms. Hageman.
Aye.
Mr. Toole.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yeah,
And chair votes aye. That is unanimous. We
You want me to
are
get the
now in executive session.